Are on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you on this Thursday, bright and early. Guess what? We have juicy news that just came in hot off the gossipy presses. No, this is not the gossipy press. This is the real press. If you've been following along with that Erika Girardi and Tom Girardi, you know, the LA law lawyer whom the show was based on, who's also the famous Erin Brockovich, a lawyer that they made the movie about. Well, he came out. Well, she's been running her trap about him. Let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I got to back you up just so you can get some background to this new foreground I'm going to give you. She's been on this new season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills talking trash about Tom this entire time. She filed for divorce from him in November of 2020, I believe. And since then, they've been filming the show. At first, she used to act like, oh, whoa, everything is so wonderful. Tom is the best. We have this wonderful marriage. Blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not a gold digger. No, I didn't just marry him for his dollars. No, I'm okay. I mean, this is love at first sight. Yeah, he's 28 years older than her? Whatever it is. And he's 82 and she just turned 50. So do the math on that. Is it 32 years? That's a lot of years. Anyway, she's wife number 3. And he had that big old giganticon of a mansion long before he ever met Miss Girardi, honey. Erika Jayne. I don't know what is her last name going to be now? Because now, has she ever told us what her government name was before she married Mr. Girardi and became the new whatever? Anyway, well, guess what? She's been running this poor man down, now outing all of his private health woes. And let me tell you, when you're a husband and a wife, which I'm married to a man. I'm not one of those new kind of weird relationships. No, I have a husband. I call him husband. I'm his wife. So we have certain things about my health, certain things about his health that I just don't want everybody to know. So if we get a divorce, I would not expect my person that I'm in the midst of a divorce. Now, their divorce has not been finalized. We have not divided up the coins or the negativity of the coins. We haven't divided that up, and they don't have any children together. All she did was get out of the house and leave stuff behind, allegedly. But I did see all of her clothing with her, which is exactly where the money is. All of her diamonds. She said, oh, I left everything behind. No, you didn't. You left nothing behind because he had those raggedy chairs before you got there. And so anyway, Tom Girardi came out and made a statement and said, yep, what is it? I think she knew about my legal woes. We have audio. Boom. Don't you just like it? Don't like when the good Lord blesses you with audio? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Cue up the music, Sherelle.
Everybody wants to know.
Where'd she go? Where did you go?
All right. Everybody just wants to know if she had any insight of what was going
Why don't
on.
you drop the camera? Okay? Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He wants to answer the question.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
I think she does.
Let's go.
He said, I think she does. And you know what? Let me tell you about that lawyer. I don't care if they said he was disbarred or suspended. He's still Tom Girardi. Okay? He is still one of the best attorneys to ever even grace the courtrooms. So at the end of the day, Erika Girardi was going to use television to go ahead and put her side of the story out, which is just one side, which is basically sounding like a con artist side now, because she's been out there the whole time talking about, oh, a wife doesn't know. He didn't tell me anything. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then what happened? She got all uptight wad when she was mad at one of her co-stars, the real rich one up on there, Sutton, who got her money by legal means. Her and her husband built their wealth together, and then they got the divorce, and they split the baby. They split the money. So she was basically saying, oh, Sutton, oh, you don't know anything about my marriage. Well, honey, now we all know about your marriage. Because guess what? I had a problem with her being on the show in the first place this season anyway. I mean, if you have a case where the feds are watching everything that you're doing, why are you still on a reality show, simpleton? Why have you not thought enough about your own life and needing to focus on exactly how you're going to get yourself up out of this colossal size, monumental, momentous, gargantuan, epic proportion of a mess you're in? Lady, at the end of this, you're going to have negative $5 billion. I mean, who has negative $5 billion? Who has negative $1 billion? What is the government going to do? I mean, what they going to do? You can't make that many license plates in prison. Are they still making license plates in prisons? I don't know. I mean, but I don't know. Is Siri trying to answer my question on my watch? But here's the thing. I mean, she needed to have shut the F up this entire season about her husband. Did she not think that even though his brother is his conservator, that his brother is going to look out for his best interest? Because remember, Erika Girardi, you are wife number 3, baby. You are the 3rd in line into that Girardi money. Because I don't know how many children, adult children, that Mr. Thomas Girardi had, but he ain't had no married kid with you, boo. I'm sorry, you were not able to solidify the deal. You were married to that man for 20-something years and you could not birth no baby. And let me tell you something. It was not an impossibility. You can't say, oh, woe is me. No, because you do have a police officer's son. You do have that one. So we know that you know how to make a baby. Here's another thing. And I'm sure you could have figured out how to get one. Janet Jackson had one at 50. She had to go to that near Saudi Arabia to go find out how to have a baby at 50 years old. And let me tell you something else. You just turned 50, girl. I had a baby at 46. Come on now. You know you could have done it, but guess what? You don't have any kids with him, so stop talking about Tom, because he just paid you back, and the feds have been listening. Because if I heard it and I just played his commentary, and he's in the middle of a lawsuit, yes, ma'am, all of your stuff is going to be sold. It's going to be liquidated, and you're going to prison. And I hope, you know what? I hope that I'm able to know the date of the auction so I can announce it on the show. So all of us can put out a good bid. All of us hardworking people that actually work for our checks and just don't have to just marry. I mean, it would be nice to marry a billionaire come up. Now, if any of you know some billionaires out there, I will hook you up. I will do some billionaire matchmaking up on here. Because it looks like right up the next one is this is what happens when men age. Okay, when men get older, they tend to trade in wife number 1 and wife number 2. And you see Thomas Girardi traded in wife number 2 for wife number 3. So now this other gentleman is, let me see, billionaire John Paulson. Y'all know him? He is divorcing his wife. He's locked in one of the biggest, he's a 65-year-old business guru who made $20 billion shorting the housing market before the 2008 crash, and he cited irreconcilable differences as his reason for getting a divorce. And his divorce was filed on Monday. Guess what? Both of the husband and wife, baby, and you know what? You could tell she gonna try to run them through the ringer, y'all. Both of them hired some of the biggest New York attorneys, and they're billing this as the clash of the titans. So John Paulson and his wife Jenny are out there locked up in this. And guess what's even bigger? There's no prenuptial agreement, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to have a battle for this. This is worth $4.7 billion. And remember when Bill and Melinda Gates, I guess it's something happening. Are these men that are all born, are these all the men that are turning the mid-60s? They're all going through a crisis of consciousness. And they now want that little bit of young tail, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. Because Mr. Billionaire Guru, well, he's not a guru, because guess what? He's a Dumbo. He's now been seen dating an Instagram influencer. Oh, yes. He's now been out there spotted with this girl. What's her name?
Elena de Almeida.
How do you say it?
Elena de Almeida.
Elena de Almeida. And I don't know, she's on Instagram, straight flexing. Well, you know what? Good for you, Almeida. I don't know where you met him. I don't know if you slid into his DMs, but take it from Erika Girardi. You know that you might need to get your own coins slid to the side. You might need to go ahead and write in there that you don't know anything about his personal business dealings. Because guess what? Now that we're going to be able to get into his financial books, we're going to be able to expose those books on the air, because it's going to come out in the paperwork. We're going to make sure that he's not breaking any laws, because if he is, you're going to be liable, girl. Man. Oh, but let's go back to the housewives. Those billionaires acting dumb. There's now 2 billionaires. If you want one that's got Alzheimer's, there's Tom Girardi. Well, he's actually broke. But, and there's John Paulson. Go out there and find him, ladies and gentlemen. He's on the market. But let's go talk about the dumbest season of the Real Housewives in the whole franchise history was the Real Housewives of New York, where they added the first black woman to the cast in the history of the show. It was an epic mistake. They should have just left it all white. Let me tell you, just because we're having diversity and inclusion all across America does not mean we need to diversify and include every black woman in every cast that's already got a solid cast. I don't need to. Here's the problem. I'm a woman that has a husband and 2 children. Why are they trying to pick the one black girl in New York City to join the housewives who's never had a husband, who has absolutely no children, who didn't even know who her daddy was? Her story on being a housewife was finding her daddy. I'm sorry, not locating him, finding out who the heck he was. And her mother is not deceased, and she was not an orphan, and her grandma was still living. I'm sorry, bravo, franchise. Let me tell you something about black women. There are more of us to choose from, okay? And it was kind of a disappointment for me as a black woman. I'm sure they were like, oh, we found a woman who's a lawyer. What's her name? What's the woman's name? She's Ebony something. And then listen. Now, of course, her name is Ebony. That probably helped her out in the casting to make her more black. I can say that because I'm black. So they find a black woman lawyer named Ebony, and then they just stop right there. Oh, you was in some beauty pageant. They stop right there. I'm like, okay. We got a black girl when they did the teaser for the show. I saw when it was like during the pandemic. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch. Ooh, and she's cute too. And she's in my sorority. Ooh, yeah. I couldn't wait. I even put on my sorority sweatshirt while I watched the opening episode. And here comes the dumb. Bravo did it again. Oh, yes. They gave us a black girl that has no husband, that has no house, that has no children, who's never even been married to some celebrity that we could all know of. She don't have nothing but a dog and lives in a freaking rental apartment. And she's on there talking about her bad credit. And she's a lawyer. And I'm like, why would you do us like that? So Bravo, this is exactly why you had the worst ratings of this New York Housewives season that you ever have. And the ratings were so raggedy throughout the season that, hell, I performed my own silent revolt of the raggediness. And the only reason I watched it to the end was to see whether or not they were going to do something about the racist Ramona that's been on there for the last seasons, acting like a darn donkey during the whole Trump conservative party movement campaign, and up there not wearing a mask, doing dumb stuff. You know, you got these old grandmotherly women on the show who, when the one black girl that goes on there that gave any spice to the whole season was the black girl that came on there visiting. She was Ramona's friend, of course. She found the one black girl that was on there that could be pro conservative movement. They're talking mess to the other black girl who's pro-black power. And let me tell you something. Every single episode did not have to be about pro-black. She was up there trying to teach the good white people of New York City about black history. Wrong move, black girl. Wrong move. Just because your name is Ebony, do not go out there to try to teach all the white women about blackness. And then every single episode, every time she was talking about her blackness, I was like, oh my God, girl, are you sure that you knew that you are black? I felt like she's trying to convince me that she was black. I mean, it made me tune it out. And so I no longer want to look at the dumb New York Housewives. You need a whole new cast. Everybody on there is garbage. Get rid of the whole scene. And the black girl made it even worse. And goodbye, New York Housewives. And apparently Bravo must agree with me, because they're not even going to have a reunion for the raggedy mess. Thank you, Bravo, for making the good, wise decision, for axing that. Yes, Real Housewives of New York will not have a reunion. And guess what? I already knew that was coming with that raggedy mess. First of all, nobody was going to watch it. Number one, Andy Cohen, you needed to pull that raggediness. You got all these fake women on there anyway, going broke, trying to act like they got money. Erika Girardi going to prison soon. Her husband done come out saying she's a big old fat liar. You got that Jen Shaw up in there. She's going to prison. Now, guess what the raggedy said? Guess what they did on that raggedy show? Well, guess what? They always they had to go ahead and have a person of color. Who do they have? A person of color con artist. So there you go. When they said say no to Asian hate, what does Bravo do? Find an Asian con artist to put on a show. Yes, they do. One that's on her way to prison. And what does she do? Get arrested on the season opener. That's how they play it. And so, and these narcissistic women that are on these shows are on there while you are in the middle of a legal court battle where you are facing jail time. I don't understand it. Maybe that's the culture of what we're in, and that's exactly what the Illuminati wants us to do. And that's what I was going to talk to you, because y'all know the second hour of today's show. I'm getting back on track. I spent too long talking about those raggedy women, because I have a whole lot to say about Bravo and the raggediness of that whole channel. I'm so tired. Get the women off the TV that are acting stupid. I don't want to see it anymore. How about we do that? They had a whole hashtag stop R. Kelly. How about hashtag stop Bravo? Okay, but I do like watching the white women cut up the fool, because that's the only time that you got white media showing white women acting like exactly who they are. They just exploit black women. They don't ever show our good side. They only show our raggedy side. So I got to say, they do it too. Like Lincoln and Kitty, like my kids. Mommy, she did it too. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Well, we like to see everybody. They're equal opportunity haters, but they do shine black on black women more. Okay, off the black women. Okay, what's our next story we got coming up? Wendy Williams. Oh my gosh. You know what? Wendy Williams is having a hard time out there. She is having mental issues. We kind of saw her cracking up on TV anyway. Every time, I remembered watching the episode where she was just talking 1 minute and all of a sudden she did the woozy and then she hit the ground. I was in shock. I figured, she's not eating. And she was quite thin at the time. But that's when she was married to that good old son of a gun, Kevin, that ex-husband, Kevin, the one that did the donkey. Well, ladies and gentlemen, anytime that a woman is the sole earner for a marriage, and then that man is also her boss / manager in the marriage, so she pays him to manage her. And he was obviously managing the money of the house, which means she was a simpleton anyway, because I'm sorry, the way I was raised by the wonderful, strong women of my lineage, the woman controls the purse strings in that house. Yes. He brings home the bacon and she divides up the bacon and decides to put it in the bank, and she has his money and her money and their money. He doesn't always know how much money she's got, but she knows how much money comes in and out of that house. That's the way I am. But guess what? Y'all women out there doing something different? That's on you. Well, anyway, going back to my story, Wendy Williams let her man run her purse strings in her house because she's so darn smart. And guess what? He was running her money and then had a mistress. And the guys that were in his entourage used to hang out at the mansion in the same neighborhood that, guess what? He used Wendy's money to purchase for his mistress and live down the street while he was over there with his homeboys, cooning and drinking, hanging out, having a good old time, while this other mistress is acting like she's serving Kevin and his homeboys as the woman of that house. You see that? That's what happens when you don't know what's happening with the money coming in and going out of the house. See, I know about all the dollars. If you don't know about all the dollars, you don't know where they're going. You got Erika going to prison because she didn't know where the dollars were going. I'm trying to tell you, you better know where the money's going. And if you're part of the con too, you better help them cover up the con. I'm not promoting criminal activity. However, some of y'all better be Bonnie and Clyde instead of doing stuff separately. Because there's the whole husband and wife privilege out there that you got immunity if you could both shut your mouths. Ladies and gentlemen, for all you criminal defense attorneys out there, I'm trying to send you some clients. Okay, so let's talk about, Wendy Williams and her health issues. She's going crazy, and crazy's not a bad thing. We saw her crack it up, but she's not been able to promote the debut of her show, which aired on September 20th. And that was what, Monday, Tuesday? That was on Monday of this week. It aired, but she didn't do any of the promos for it because she's probably checked into the crazy place. Do people check in? Or do they?
She got checked.
She got checked. She checked in. Well, remember during the marriage, Kevin did an involuntary whole commitment on Wendy and had her committed while he was out there hanging out with his mistress. Yes, he did. He had them take her phone, and she was like on some old 24-hour watch, and she was able to con one of the people into giving her cell phone because the person felt bad about her husband out there because she couldn't really say anything. So, if Wendy is now putting herself into some mental health place, good luck to you, Wendy. You need to know that we're praying for you. And Kevin had some old nasty, raggedy comment to say on, Instagram or Twitter, on social media with his dumb behind. You know what? He's so mean and horrible. Him and that whack butt woman that he married. He turned the hoe into a housewife. He turned the mistress into a wife. But who want to be married to his raggedy butt in the first place? Those two belong together. They're both whack. Anyway, so he put B-Day vibes all week. So thankful to the Most High God for all blessings This is Kevin posting it with his wax self. I tried to tell him health is wealth. And he put that in all caps. And it said, not money. First of all, black man, you don't want to, if I was at my house, I probably would have dropped the N-word, but I'm trying to get away from that. First of all, black man, Kevin, shut up. And then you want to put, God said they'll learn. Now, first of all, Kevin, who is the they'll? You're the one who's going to be atoning, Kevin. See how the devil moves, ladies and gentlemen, and how it works? He's trying to have something to say about Wendy, trying to make it seem like God is doing something bad about Wendy when Wendy was the victim in all of this. Wendy was the one whose husband was thotting around out there with a tramp and got a tramp pregnant while he was married to his wife and stole money from the marital community relationship and then gave it to the mistress and bought. First of all, I could run this dude down all day, but I'm not going to do that. So anything that he says on social media, well, you know what? Listen, I'm going to come for him every time he posts something about Wendy Williams. I don't always agree with what Wendy does, but at the end of the day, him and that whack woman that he's with, she's trash and so is he. Ha 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 ha. Moving on. Okay, Wendy, we got your back, sister. Anyway, oh, whack Kevin. Every time I see his face, I just want to just slap my iPad. Okay, let's go back. Back to the story. Oh, Denise Richards. You know what? Denise Richards spent a little bit of time on The Housewife. Remember, Denise Richards was married to Charlie Sheen, who's now sitting around here now trying to be daddy of the millennium. And, Charlie Sheen, he had all of his woes. He had a really bad drug habit, had lots going on. And his daughter did not like the way that Denise was basically on her behind and not letting her run amok. If you watch the episode or the season when she was on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, when Lisa Rinna, the backstabbing former best friend of hers, was stabbing her in the back every moment of the whole season because she was just basically jealous that her pretty best friend got on the show and that she outshined her. So she basically pushed her off. Anyway, I'll talk about that on another day when I talk about Lisa Rinna and those lips and her whack daughter. Anyway, so Denise Richards was very strict as a parent. Because remember, she was married to Mr. Crazy, who also was running around with a bunch of escorts and strippers and prostitutes and doing dumb stuff on social media. And all of his daughters got to see his shenanigans. Well, so she ran a tight household. Her daughter wanted to run amok and be like, the Hollywood kid, she wanted to act like those other Hollywood daughters that we're seeing out there, like the Kardashians. And her mom was like, no, your daddy was the king of going crazy. And I already see what's going to happen. So she was able to now go live with crazy Charlie. And now that she's with her dad, there are no rules so now she made some bad comment and said that she's now glad that she's out of the hell house, and that she called her mama's house the hell house and put it on Instagram, which is being very mean, and saying that that was an allegation of an abusive household, saying that her mother was too strict and that, she didn't appreciate her mom's standard of parenting and all that kind of stuff. So that she finally got to move out. Now she's finally happy, and that she's had some spiritual awakening. First of all, remember her daddy Charlie was running around talking about he was having some spiritual awakening when he was having so much heroin and cocaine in his system that he was running around with HIV and AIDS and was probably giving it to some people and didn't even know it. Remember that when he was having his awakening on live television? Well, now his daughter is experiencing her spiritual awakening because now she's no longer feeling trapped. That's her language, at her mom's house. Well, let me tell you something about that. Well, Denise Richards now feels saddened about her daughter's responses. Denise, baby, let me tell you, don't feel sad at all. Because when the future becomes the present, we will all see in the fallout that you were doing the right thing. Who cares if your daughter thought you were doing the right thing? You were doing the parenting that you needed to. Now let's go ahead and talk. Oh, well, we got to go cut to commercial. I went too long. We'll be back to talk about racist Mississippi and how much they hate women. All right, more in a bit. Woo. Can you believe that old dumb Erika? Can y'all believe that old dumb Erika Girardi? Did she really not think that her husband was going to come for her neck? Good for you, Tom Girardi. She up there talking about, because listen, if that whole Alzheimer's game is a con that both of them came up with together. See, because let me tell you, I believe Erika and Tom made a pact, okay? Because as a lawyer, he knows what privilege means, okay? He said, Erika, this is what, if I was Tom, let me pretend that I'm Tom. This is full disclaimer. I'm pretending that I'm Tom Girardi. And as a lawyer, I'm going to do, as a man lawyer, this is what I would say. Baby, here's what we need to do. We don't have a prenup for a reason. For the reason that we discussed at the beginning of the marriage. I was able to slide $25 million over to your personal accounts, those accounts that I set up in your name, remember, on day one. That's why you're wife number 3 and we have no prenup. And all of the money that I was able to siphon off went to your account. Remember that? Yeah, baby. So what's going to happen is this. The only way for us, if this falls out, to be able to make sure we protect the money in the long run is to make sure that we keep that prenup and never have a postnup. If I decide that I want to have a few girlfriends, that's fine, but you can never have a boyfriend. She said, okay, baby. And also, here's another rule. Yes, you can go onto that show if you want to. You can flaunt all the wealth if you want to. But if we have to, and if there's some fallout that comes with this wealth flaunting, which is what usually happens, because now we're running through the money, then you're going to have to file for divorce from me. So that way, once you file for divorce, the companies are in your name, that's your money, and my law firm can't come after you. So long as you stick to the plan, Erika. Once we file for divorce, don't say anything. When you go on the show, just only say what we agreed to. Make sure that you tell everybody that I have Alzheimer's and that I haven't been in my right mind for years and that I don't know anything and that you never knew anything. Stick to the story.
30 seconds.
And she didn't stick to the damn plan. She got too high up in her stuff. It started talking about, oh, he had a car accident. Oh, the house got broken into. Oh, he rolled his car. Oh, he had a concussion. Oh, he was unconscious. Oh, I made the decision not to get him no surgery. Oh, he had a girlfriend. Oh, he had a mistress. Oh, he was mean. Oh, and guess what? And he was like, oh, bitch, I got one for you. Here you go, boo. You knew it too. Oh, feds, are you listening? That's what, if I was Tom, that's what I would have said as the lawyer. Here you go, right back at you. You think he wants to pay that judgment by himself? Nope. But guess what? Just like Erika said, oh, if he knows where the money is, I'd like to know where it is. Of course he knows where the money is. You think his brother, the conservative, doesn't know? We're going back on the air. We're going to talk about racism. Well, let's go talk about abortion right now. We're going back on the air, you guys. Hope you're enjoying the show.
You are on.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to It's Debatable with Attorney Nyan Zamora. We're going to talk about what's going on in Mississippi. You know, Mississippi, number one, I think that they're a racist state, period. I mean, that's full stop. I don't know why during the mass exodus out of Mississippi, when Jim Crow was banned, is Jim Crow still legal in Mississippi? It kind of feels like it is. It might be in certain parts. I'm sure it's still being enforced in certain places where black people are scared to walk around. Well, the Supreme Court is to hear the restrictive Mississippi abortion law on December the 1st. Well, we knew it was going to happen. The conservative movement has rolled over women's rights. They started with Texas being the number one story in the news, with the Supreme Court first giving us insight into what their position is going to be. They gave us insight when they decided to go ahead and let by operation of law, let the Texas abortion ban go into effect, which is essentially going against the federal law of the land, which is why, in turn, the Justice Department under Merrick Garland filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas. So now Mississippi, the Supreme Court decides to tee up whichever cases they want to decide to hear. And the Biden administration urged them to uphold Roe versus Wade, which was the 1973 landmark decision that was allowing abortion nationwide for everyone, which can occur at around 24 weeks of pregnancy. And so now they are seeking to invalidate the Mississippi law that bars most abortions after 15 weeks. The acting Solicitor General, Brian Fletcher, this is according to CNN, said in A new friend of the court briefs, that's an amicus brief, filed in advance of December 1 arguments that the justices should reject a direct challenge to the landmark opinion. And in a separate filing, he also asked that the United States be granted time to argue its position during oral arguments. They want to basically say, do not just read the arguments and just look at this. We need oral arguments. We need more time. And December 1 is not cutting it. And he also is stating that overruling Wade would, quote, would harm women and their partners who have organized intimate relationships and made choices that define their views of themselves and their places in society in reliance on the availability of abortion in the event that contraception should fall. So, you know, and it said it would seriously undermine a woman's autonomy. Here's what my position is. And the Supreme Court now, when people were running around here and not focusing on what was of tantamount importance during the Trump administration's reign of 4 years, which if you would allow me the privilege, I will call it the reign of terror. When it came to the removal of the privileges that we were given during the Obama administration's reign of peace, okay, where we didn't wake up in shock every morning. We had 8 years of waking up, not being stressed out. And in the 4 years of the Trump administration, I woke up stressed every morning. I felt like, why am I having a night sweat? Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel like every day I need to see, are we at war? Is something happening? What's going on? That's the way I felt during the Trump administration. So now, the reason I felt like that was not because he's crazy. Was because he was very smart. See, because while you all were thinking that Trump was around in here doing dumb stuff, he wasn't. President Trump was doing exactly what he needed to do. You know, the dumbo Democrats were focused on the wrong thing. While Donald Trump was stacking the federal courts and making court appointments, he made 116 federal court appointments across the United States of America. And because I am a lawyer, I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what that means in this political segment. What that means is there are two different court systems in the United States. There are the state courts that have their own cases that they make rulings on, that they review. And then there are the federal courts, where when you have the time that you're going to be in federal court is when you have a state that is being sued and the lawsuit is based on the Constitution. Those cases go from the federal district courts up to the federal court of appeals. And if you're in Texas, you have you have our eastern, southern, northern, and western districts. And then you have our second level would be the Fifth Circuit. Okay. The Fifth Circuit court is a conservative court. Everybody across the country knows that. Texas is right up in the Fifth Circuit. Okay. So after the Fifth Circuit is the Supreme Court of the United States. So you got the local state level, then you got the federal level, which is the circuit courts, which means that you're going to have multiple states that particular circuit hears, which is our Fifth Circuit in Texas. And then you're going to have the Supreme Court, who, if either party at that middle level are not satisfied with the ruling, they can appeal to the United States Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States does not always hear a party just because they're upset about what happened at the circuit level. They don't have to take every case up. Some cases where they feel like, oh, we've already made a decision about that a long time ago. The law has already been set. When the law has already been set on something, that's called precedent. The preceding law is blank. So precedent has already been set on women's right to have an abortion. The precedent setting case was Roe versus Wade. All right. The case gave the women the right to have an abortion. After that, there was a case called I think it was Casey and then Planned Parenthood. Those cases gave more specific parts of the law. But the Supreme Court has not taken up any other case where Roe versus Wade has been the precedent since 1973. Now that is 49 years. Is that 49 years? That's 48 years. 48 years has been the law of the land. So now, the reason why I say President Trump was not dumb, neither was Mitch McConnell, because they, no matter what was going on out here in our land, where they were telling us something that they wanted us to fight about here over in our left brain, so that we would divert our attention away from the federal court system from our right brain, where Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell were pushing through all of these federal court appointments, stacking up all of those federal judges, those conservative judges, putting them all throughout all of the circuits across the country, and all of those vacancies left filled empty by the Obama administration. Yes, the Obama administration failed. The Obama administration failed at putting liberal justices in those seats before they were leaving office. And let me tell you, they were so sure that Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump that they probably made some deal. Now, I'm just going off what I'm thinking, and I have a logical brain, so I'm able to think, okay? So what that says to me is, if you leave 116 vacancies and you got Miss Candidate for United States President Hillary Clinton with some $50 million balloon drop that's about to happen right up there in the middle of New York City, and the balloons never dropped and she never won, you were leaving those places vacant because you thought that Hillary Clinton wanted to go ahead and put her own judicial appointments and stack 116 different judges. Well, guess what, Democrats? You dummies. You dropped the ball. And guess who swept in and had 116 of the best court appointments across the circuit courts, and then Supreme Court justices? And what did we get? What did we get? Brett Kavanaugh, Mr. Alleged Sexual Assaulter. Who else will get what's the other woman's name? What's her name? Catherine, what is her name? The one with the 15 children? Whatever her name is. Somebody, why are you taking so long finding me what the Supreme Court Justice name? You take it to see, can somebody out there in social media land find the darn name of the Supreme Court Justice? No, just, okay, you know what? Listen, anyway, whoever the latest Supreme Court Justice, yes, Amy Coney Barrett. Girl, locate the names of all. Okay, here's, let me go backwards. So Amy Coney Barrett is the latest Supreme Court Justice appointee. Well, she sat up there and lied in her confirmation hearing when she said, well, I don't see a reason why precedent would need to be overturned. Yes, you did, Amy, you Bible thumping. Now, I thump the Bible too, but I don't thump my Bible rights on everybody else. I make sure everybody else can have their Bible rights, because that's what the Bible says. I don't judge other people. I let them do whatever they want to. I did have a baby at 46 years old, so you already know what I did with my life. Anyway, so she sat up there and pretended that she would let the law of the land stick. But did it really matter? Did it really matter anyway? Because no, they were going to be able to shove her confirmation through anyway, just like they let Mr. Alleged Rapey get all the way, or alleged sexual assaulter Brett Kavanaugh get all the way up there and be confirmed. So now we have a conservative Supreme Court that was shoved through by the Trump administration. And guess what? Guess what they did to the Obama administration with those big old dummies? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They actually allowed the Supreme Court space to stay vacant. Because they knew that they were going to stop the black man from being able to do the one thing necessary to ensure that we had voting rights, ensure Roe versus Wade stayed the law of the land, to ensure that the people out there, that basically the court stayed balanced, because this was at a time when Justice Ginsburg was still living. But Mitch McConnell made sure that Barack Obama did not get to seat a Supreme Court justice with over 300 days left in the year. And these old dumb Democrats led by dumb Nancy Pelosi. Yes, I said it, because Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the Senate. Oh, no, she ain't. Speaker of the House. And dumb Chuck Schumer is the Speaker of the Senate. And if both of those dummies are both speakers and they do not force things on the agenda for a vote, knowing that we are at the one time in the history of this country where we actually have the majority of the House and the majority of the Senate, then why, pray tell me today, do we still have to beg for voting rights to become the law of the land? Why do we still have to pray for a woman's right to choose to be the law of the land? Why are we not doing, when we have a Democrat in the executive office, why do we not have by executive order the same way that Abraham Lincoln was able to write in to free the slaves, to allow them to fight in the Union Army when we were at war? Well, there is a war against black people. So why hasn't Joe Biden went ahead and written in by executive order to protect the voting rights for the black and brown people amongst us? Why hasn't he already written in that he needs to go ahead and save the DACA children by executive order? Why hasn't he already said by executive order that Roe versus Wade is the law of the land and a woman's right to choose is not up for debate? It is not a political debate, period. Let me tell you why, Democrats. Let me tell you why. Because guess what? If you are a black and brown person and you have been out there trying to get these Democrats to do what you want them to do, and you finally are out there knocking on doors, passing out the pamphlets, having these people say what they're going to do when they get into office, you flip these states, you flip these counties, you flip these local seats, you flip these whole areas, you flip one of the most racist states in the union, Georgia, and you elect a black man and a Jew to be your representative electors, then why Joseph Biden, your government name, why have you not by executive order made voting rights the law of the land to protect them no matter what, saying no state shall do anything that abridges the rights inherent that were given in the law, in the Constitution of the United States? Why, Joseph Biden, have you not done that? Are you not trying to say a thank you to the very people that got you into office? Did Joe Biden forget that these very same black and brown people are the same ones that are going to have to try to figure out a way to go to the polls? Why do black and brown people now and the underserved people now have to figure out, are they going to be able to make it to the polls by 6 p.m. when they're closing in Texas, especially because if they're closed and I get off work late, I can't really go vote for the very Democrats I'm trying to put in office. That if I went up there, why didn't he try to protect me to be able to vote till 8 p.m. or on Saturday or extend my voting times? Why let Texas do that? Why did the Texas Democrats have to run out of Texas and flee to D.C. for nothing and have nothing done? If you are a Speaker of the Senate, and for those of you who don't have a background in government, the way it operates is like this. Democrats have no reason to beg and complain and try to work across the aisle and talk about this bipartisan crap, which to me, it's all crap. We don't do anything across the aisle. If Democrats did not learn from 4 years of Mitch McConnell's reign of terror and reign of friendship with him and Donald Trump about what happens if you don't force your hand when you have power, then you will be the one who has power influenced on you when they take control again if you don't learn from what happened to you. Democrats didn't learn from what happened under Mitch McConnell. Every single thing that they wanted to do, they pushed it through. And the Democrats, well, we don't have the votes. You have the votes, Democrats. You have the majority of the House and the Senate. Whether or not Joe Biden backs you for whatever he backed up getting some roads and bridges. But if the black and brown folks and the poor folks are not there to walk across the roads in the Selma Bridge to vote for your butt, Joe Biden, then how are you going to get elected? How are they going to get you back in office? How are they going to vote for Kamala if they want her again, if they can't go to the polls? I mean, are you there to protect the people, or is it just about not the black and brown people in the Democratic Party? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Because it looks like there's a little bit of divisiveness in the Democratic Party. I see the Congressional Black Caucus, but it doesn't look like they're really good at doing anything because they haven't really been able to accomplish not a single thing on the black agenda has the Congressional Black Caucus been able to accomplish. I haven't seen anything. Why are they still fighting for voting rights? If all the black ones together combined have still not been able to talk to Mr. President that they got elected and to go ahead and by executive order protecting voting rights, what good are you for? Congressional Black Caucus of what? Caucusing, what are you talking about at your meetings? Why are you not sticking it to the president saying, listen, Mr. White Man, Joe Biden, president, we backed away from Kamala. We backed away from the first black woman would be president, and we threw our support behind you. Now, since we gave you our support and we gave it to the white man over the black woman, why are you not now getting the black agenda pushed through? We had a black president for 8 years who did not push anything through on the black agenda. Why do black people have such a hard time getting their black agenda through? Let me tell you why. Because black people continue to support white people that they put in office in positions of power. And when the white person gets into that position of power, i.e. the president, i.e. Speaker of the House, Speaker of the Senate, they never put up the black agenda. However, when it's time for the re-election campaign to go on for those white people, they go to all the black churches that they can find. They go to every black club, every black organization, go to all the black campuses, all the HBCUs, and shuck and jive and campaign for their votes. And then the black people get out there and campaign for them, get all these little political handouts, get these positions working in their offices. They get some extra t-shirts and stuff like that. But when it comes to the black agenda, the politician that is elected always seems to forget. Now, what did those black people want again? Oh, voting rights? We can talk about voting rights on the next time. Right now, we're going to talk about roads and bridges. Oh, what did the black people want again? Oh, we'll talk about that next time. Right now, we're talking about health care. Oh, what did they want again? Oh, right now, I don't know what. Oh, right now we're talking about the Green New Deal. Let me tell you something. Black folks, I'm going to do some more preaching. I'm saying a lot of things that you don't want to hear. But remember, this is my radio show. This is I'm putting it to you. I've been a Democrat for a long time, but I'm not anymore. I'm not a Republican either. I'm just a free thinker. All right, got to wrap it up and go to commercial. See? Hope you like that. I had to put it had to put the reality out there. You know, if you have the same arguments that you're making in your political agenda, if you have to make the same arguments every time to the politicians that you're electing, then that means your agenda is not being pushed through. And maybe you need to elect new people. Or maybe you need to, make sure that the people that you're electing and that they're not the kind of people that are beholden to the people that they've been beholden to already in I was about to say Hollywood, in DC. Because the reality is this: if you keep sending the same people back to the U.S. To Congress every time, those people have already been making deals with those people that they owe debts to for decades that they've been in power, and you got the same people going back over and over and over and over, and you wonder why your local agenda is not being pushed through on a bigger level. It's because it never was intended for it to be pushed through. Voting rights is not going to be on the agenda of anybody's list when they got roads and bridges, when they got the Green New Deal. Everybody's got their hands out, and there's just no money in voting rights. And the lobbyists are like, no, we're not doing it. And guess what? The Illuminati doesn't want you to have voting rights either, because they want one world order, and one world order is against democracy. And I'm going to talk about that on my second hour of the show, because that all ties into how you need to make sure that when you are voting, that you do everything to protect democracy. Because the Illuminati, I'm going to tell you, it's reaching into Satanism. And I'm going to tell you how the Illuminati and parts of the Masons that were in the, I guess I could say, the Luciferian, or I don't know, the Satanic Order, the Luciferians, they are, trying to convince people that they're doing all these things for good, and their agenda is to promote that they're doing things for good and to convince the world that they do things for good, but really they're doing things for bad. So let me see, I think I'm off the government, right?
Yeah, you have social injustice.
Oh, Robert Durst was guilty. I gotta say that real quick. I'm glad. He killed too many people. Let me see. Oh, wait. Social justice. Do we have social justice? Social justice was abortion rights. Yeah, I don't want. Yeah. No, you know what? I'm gonna do my Illuminati right after.
Okay, let me play this commercial. It's 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah, I got 30 seconds. You know what? Let me just do a teaser in Illuminati. Okay, I'm gonna just do one spot about Robert Durst and the guilty, and then I think I had. Hold on.
So you're gonna come on and do Robert Durst and then go back off, or
Yeah, and then go back off.
okay.
Hi guys. Okay, yeah. He was such a
You're
murderer.
on.
Okay, we're back. So now I hope you all have been following along the Robert Durst trial. I spoke about his, trials as it was going on. A Los Angeles jury reached a guilty verdict last Friday afternoon after about 3 days and 7 hours of deliberation. And at 78 years old, he was finally found guilty of the December 2000. That's a long time. Was that 20 years ago? December 2000 murder of his best friend, Susan Berman. If you don't remember, his wife was dead, and in 1982, I didn't say that right. He was accused, or people thought that he killed his wife back in 1982. She was the wife of Robert Durst, but I guess he stopped liking her after a while. She was some beautiful heir. She was rich in her own right. His best friend was Susan Berman. He used her as his alibi. So one day she saw some notes on his desk and made a comment like, "Oh, well, were you there in town? These look like your wife's papers," and all this kind of stuff. So basically, then he killed her. So after that, he kills her. Then they never could recover her body. And so then he goes down to Galveston. And then he lives in Galveston Island. And then he has this guy that lived next door to him. Is either his next door neighbor or roommate. I don't know. Either way, he killed that guy too. So finally, the LA DA was like, you know what? You can't just keep on killing people, because they never had enough information on Robert Durst until he did the documentary. Let me tell you something about old men saying things under their breath, i.e. Tom Girardi. Robert Durst did an interview with these documentarians, and he was still mic'd, and during one of the outtakes, he still had his microphone on, and while they were putting the equipment away after his interview, he said, "I killed them all." Just like that. Quote, "I killed them all." And then that was caught on video or on camera. Actually, it was on camera. You saw him with his back to the camera, but you could hear the audio. It said, "I killed them all." That video aired with that outtake in there on, I believe, HBO or Showtime or whatever it was. I watched it. I was like, oh, he's in trouble. I said, what are they going to do with that admission? So basically they gave it to the LA County, and LA brought him up. And so now he's going away in prison. And if you watch the trial, he was in there in his wheelchair with his breathing mask and all that kind of stuff. And people still decided to convict him. And I'm so glad nobody gets away with it in the United States of America. Gotta be a little bit richer than Robert Durst. Are we going to commercial now?
Yes.
There we go. I'll be back with more on the Illuminati. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is my best part. All right. Hope you come back for the second hour for my discussion on the Illuminati and the devil. I love to talk about the devil. He's quite interesting.